Was good, y'all? Rich Sosa back in a building with another banger. Now, first things first, before we get into today's video, I just want to say thank you, God, for another day and another opportunity. Now, as y'all can see from the looks of the title and the screen, today I'm bringing y'all a very special build. First ever two-way point power forward build on the NBA 2K23 Next as well as past gen. Now, before we get into the actual build making, I'm going to be showing y'all gameplay, but I also want to give a quick shout out to Anthony Griffin, Lightspeed26 on Twitter. Go ahead and hit him with a follow. He shot me the details for this build name, and because of him, I was able to bring it to y'all. So for this build, I made it to where we're able to get all of the pro dribble moves. We're going to have an 89 ball handle, but then when it comes down to width boost as well as our takeover, you have the potential of getting a 100 plus ball handle with this build, and we're definitely getting the contact dunks. Now, this build is super versatile coming out of the power forward position. We're going to be able to get some of the best takeovers. Now, if you did make it this far into the video, comment down below right now, and I definitely will hit y'all with a response. Where are you tuning in from watching today? And if you have made this build yourself and have not seen it posted, be sure to let me know, because I want to be sure that I'm bringing y'all the best version of not only this build, but anything that I'm coming at y'all with. So let's go ahead and get started by putting this build out of the power forward position. When it comes down to left or right hand, I like to go left hand for every single build that I make. That only comes because I'm a left hand in real life. Now, for the jersey number, I'm going to go with number 1 because this is the first version of this build. Now, when it comes down to the actual physicals, this is what's going to allow us to not only get contact dunks, but allow us to be sure that we're getting the pro dribble moves. So for the height, I'm going to be going with 6'8". For the weight, you can go with the weight of a minimum or the max. I'm going to go with the minimum. Now, I did try to go ahead and raise it, but then the acceleration wasn't to my liking. Now, for the wingspan, 7'6" is going to be perfect. And then for the body shape, if you want to take up the most space, you can definitely go with builds. For this one, I'm going to go with the fine just to look more like a point forward. Now, let's go ahead and get into the actual breakdown of the attributes. And I'm telling you right here, right now, every single thing about this build is super important to maintaining the build name. Now, I always say the physicals are definitely going to be the most important factor when starting out any build. It's really going to give you an idea of what you should expect. Now, when it comes down to my speed, you can definitely go with the max, but what I decided to do, go with an 81, and I feel like this is going to be a perfect range of speed. You can go with a lower one, like in the 70s, but I feel like 81 is a perfect threshold. Once you get gym rat, that's going to be 85. Now, for the acceleration, I'm going to go with 77, and then when it comes down to the strength, 76 is going to be perfect for this build as well. Now, if you want to be able to get the pro contact dunks, go with the 75 for the vertical, but even if you want to go with 80 just to grab more rebounds, I think that's something you should consider as well. Now, my threshold for the stamina on any build that I make, definitely going to be a 90. Now, this is going to be a perfect setup when it comes down to the physicals. As far as for the defensive end, I made a few adjustments and took away some badges on the Hall of Fame tier just to be able to get better and spread the wealth in other areas. So when it comes down to my defensive rebound, I'm going to put this to a 74. Now, originally on this build, I was able to pretty much max up my block, steal, and perimeter defense. Now, if I kept it how I originally found the build, that means I wasn't going to be able to shoot or finish at the rim with contact dunks. Now, taking away these are really going to allow to open up the floor even more when it comes down to playing offense, but even more so on the defensive end, you're going to see exactly what we're looking like. So for my defensive rebound, 74, then back to the block, go with an 83, 89 for the steal for now, but look, if you want to go and max it out to get the maximum badges, go with the 93 for your block, 95 when it comes down to the steal, and an 88 for the perimeter defense. 81 when it comes down to the interior, and these are just some of the numbers that you can work around with. Now, for my liking, I did change a few of these just so that way I was able to shoot and get the contact dunks. So I'm going to go ahead and lower my block all the way down to an 83. But once you go ahead and consider adding boost to this build, this will be back into the 90s, and then even more so when it comes down to adding a takeover, that's going to play a huge effect on this build. Now, for the steal, I feel like 89 is going to be perfect. You would be able to get glove on gold. Now, if you want to go for that, you definitely can do so. Now, if you want to go ahead and get Hall of Fame chase down artists, that's another thing that you have to do. do to raise the block back up. That's why I'm showing you 2 different versions on how to make this build, but everything else is pretty much going to go exactly how I'm bringing it. Now for the playmaking, I'm going to go with the 77. As for the ball handle, I'm going to go with an 89. Now for the pass accuracy, you have to keep this above an 80 or else you're going to get a different build name. Now if we're going to get a total of 23 badges right here, and I think we have everything that we need, especially with Hall of Fame quick first step. Now when it comes down to the defense and the playmaking, you have everything that you need so far. This looks like a super solid 1v1 court build, but even more so when it comes down to playing 3v3, I think you're going to be able to take this build into any game mode so far based off how I made it. Now when I first found this build, it originally only had a 73-point shot and a mid-range. Now what I found out is that if you go above a 79 for either the 3-pointer and the mid-range, you're going to get a completely different build name. So for here, I'm going to go with a 79 when it comes down to my mid-range, 78 for the 3-pointer, and then for my free throw, I'm going to go with an 81, and we're going to be able to get 19 badges just for the shooting. Now I feel like everything that we have is going to be perfect here, especially when it comes down to the badge layout. I feel like I went about it perfectly, especially when it comes down to even the core badges. So you have a few different options on how you want to go about your playstyle for this build, but even more so when it comes down to the finishing, this is what opens up the floor even more. So if you notice a trend, I like to make builds that unlock the most animations and being able to maintain the most rare build names. So when it comes down to the finishing, I had to go ahead and be sure that I was able to get silver posterizer on this build, as well as being able to get the pro contact dunks. So when it comes down to my driving dunk, I'm going to go with an 85. Same thing when it comes down to my driving layup. Now right here, we get a total of 14 badges. Now if you add on 4 extra badges towards this area, we're going to be able to also put on silver posterizer. Now once you unlock it as a core badge, you'll be able to put on limitless takeoff or even bronze bully. It really comes down to your own liking, but as we continue to add badges towards this build, really going to change on what we're able to do, especially adding even more badges. That's going to allow us to unlock even more animations. Now for this build, I think 6'8" is going to be a perfect height. If you want to go with 6'9" or even 6'7", you can do so, but I feel like that's going to change a lot on how the defensive end is going to look. 210 for the weight really gives us the strength that we need. And then when it comes down to the wingspan, I wouldn't go with shorter just because we're going with the 79 when it comes down to the shooting. You don't really need to go ahead and focus too much on the wingspan other than for defensive purposes. But when it comes down to these takeovers, we get the shot creating, the sharpshooting. Now from here, we also get the playmaking and then the lockdown. So think about this. If you add on your own boost, which will be a +4, that's going to allow you to not only run with teammates which have floor general, so in total that's going to be +8. Now if you add on a few of these different takeovers, we're going to be able to get a 99 plus free throw, ball handle, pass accuracy, perimeter defense, and steal. Now when it comes down to the takeovers, the main ones that I would focus on is first going to be limitless range. The second one, any of the lockdown takeovers to your own choosing. Now let's go ahead and make sure that we made the build correctly. And as you can see, we get a comparison of Draymond Green. And right here, we have created the first ever two-way point power forward build on NBA 2K23 Next Gen. Now these stats are also going to be applicable to create it on past gen. Now if you made this build exactly how I brought it to y'all, go ahead and let me know in the comments. But if you decided to go with the Hall of Fame defensive badges, let me know which one you made. So comment down 1 if you made my version, 2 if you made the defensive version. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and get into the breakdown of the badges. So when it comes down to the finishing, we have a good amount of Hall of Fame badges. I went with Giant Slayer on Hall of Fame as well as Pro Touch. Now for tier 2, Aerial Wizard will be my gold core badge, and then also Fearless Finisher. Now for tier 1, I did go with Silver Back Down Punisher. Now remember, I said if you add on extra badges, we're going to be able to put on Posterizer, and that's going to make a huge difference on this build. And I feel like if you add badges towards the finishing, this is going to be one of the best builds and rare builds at that when it comes down to this year. Now for the shooting, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I put on the correct badges that are going to boost my shooting percentage. So I'm going to go for tier 1. That's going to be Gold Amped, Mini Magician, Silver Space Creator, and Hall of Fame Volume Shooter. Now for tier 2, I went with Bronze Agent 3, Silver Green Machine, and then for tier 3, this really comes down to your own preference, but I'm going to go with Limitless Range. Now for playmaking, this is going to be one of the most important areas of this build. So for tier 1, I'm going with Hall of Fame Ankle Breaker. This badge really works this year, and I use it on my main build, and I'm telling you, the animations that you get out of it are going to be perfect. Now I just want to remind you all, that when it comes down to putting on badges, there's no perfect way to go about it. Now, I have to say there are certain badges that are more helpful than others, but as long as you like badges that you're working around your own playstyle, I think that's definitely going to be the best way to go about your own build making. Now, for the defensive end, I think we have strong badges out of tier 2 and tier 3. Main ones that I'm looking at are going to be Gold Challenger as well as Chase Down Artists. Then we also get Glove, but if you did go with the defensive version of this build, you'll be able to get Hall of Fame Chase Down Artists as well as Gold Glove. Now be sure to let me know, 1 or 2 in the comments, which version did you make. But essentially this is what the build is going to be looking like, and I love the build name, I love the badge count, and more so with the 99 plus stats, that makes this build even better. So if you made it this far into the video, comment down below thank God, or you can comment down TG and I most definitely got y'all with a response. But man, if it was your first time coming through, be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, turn on post notifications to be a part of the Rich family, and go ahead and smash that like button. Now again, I just want to say thank you God for another day and another opportunity, and if you want to reach out to me for anything, be sure to go ahead and reach out to any of my socials and I most definitely got y'all. But man, with all that being said, God bless y'all, and I got one last thing to say. Rich out.